Welcome to Next Level Play Therapy, a weekly podcast dedicated to supporting the next generation of child and adolescent therapists to provide exceptional play therapy services. We'll explore all things play therapy to elevate your work with children and adolescents using the therapeutic powers of play. I'll discuss practical tips and ideas so you can provide a transformative experience for your young clients and make a real difference in their lives. So get ready to take your play therapy skills to the next level and make a lasting impact in the lives of children, adolescents, and families. Good morning. So today I want to talk about what are the specific skills that are needed in order to consider yourself a play therapist. So in a previous episode in my weekly lives, I talked about what is the difference between being a play therapist and being a therapist who uses play in therapy sessions. And this is a really important distinction when you're considering what type of theoretical models you're going to use, your toolbox, so to speak. Part of that is dependent upon what theoretical models you're trained in. How are you applying those theoretical models? Most mental health professionals will use an integrated approach because one size really doesn't fit all. And so having more tools in your toolbox, so to speak, is an important part of professional development. And so that brings us to me, the discussion today is if you are using play in the therapeutic process with your child and adolescent clients, what type of theoretical models are you using? Which type are you trained in? And if you are promoting yourself as a play therapist, then what exactly does that mean? Because that also brings in a little bit of ethics and some competency questions in terms of the models that you're using. And so that is what I want to discuss today. I'm Cathi Spooner. If you haven't been watching my previous live episodes, I go live every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I'm in the West Coast here in the United States, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time, like think New York. And I'm pretty sure it's 3 p.m. in the UK, like London time zone. Pretty sure that's accurate. I try to keep up on making sure I give the right information about that. So if you are joining me live today, I would love to see who's here. I live stream on, I use StreamYard. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, or my Facebook group, then you want to give StreamYard permission so I can see your name. If you don't want to, that's fine. The only thing that does is it lets me see your name. I'm also simultaneously live streaming into Instagram. So if you are watching on Instagram, I would love to know who's here. I would love to know who's here in my Facebook group, which is called Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground. It's a Facebook group for child and adolescent mental health professionals who want to use play therapy and expressive arts in their clinical work. So if you haven't already joined the group and it sounds like it would be interesting to you and you're on Facebook, feel free to hop over there and join the group. You are required to answer the questions or you won't be admitted in the group. So if you're watching on in my Facebook group, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please let's see who's here. Post your name in the comments. Where are you from? And on Instagram, where are you from? What population do you work with? Are you using play therapy? What modalities are you using? How, those kinds of questions. I'd love to see who's here. Any questions about play therapy, please feel free to post those as well. If you're interested in any of my previous replays, these automatically turn into replays. I get asked that question a lot. So I thought maybe I would mention it. If you are interested in watching any of the replays, if you're in my Facebook group, you can find them in the featured section. I pin them all in the featured section. If you're watching on LinkedIn, it's kind of hard to find them. You have to scroll through my entire feed. It's probably easier to hop over to my YouTube channel and look in the live tab. It's easier to watch them from my YouTube channel, which is called Cathi Spooner Renewing Hearts Consulting. Hey, Michelle from Omaha, who is in my Facebook group. It's good to see you here. And so let's get started. Honestly, feel free to ask questions and let's have a conversation. Because to me, part of the discussion is really getting an understanding of what is play therapy. And if you're working with children and adolescents, what does it take to be a play therapist? What skills are needed? And for those of you who have been using play therapy for a while, I think it's always good for us in the profession to consider, where am I in my competencies? Like, what are these competencies? These are fairly new in the Association for Play Therapy, which is where these come from. They did a research study back in 2020 to examine what other experienced play therapists consider to be core competencies in play therapy. So what is a competency? A competency is your ability to use specific theoretical models and apply them, your skills in play therapy that you're using. If you're in graduate school for mental health, you're learning all your competencies for your specific discipline. So in a marriage and family therapy counseling program, or you're learning the skills, competency skills for marriage and family counseling. If you're in social work, you're learning competency skills for social work. If you're in the counseling profession, psychology profession, school counseling, school social work, you're learning the competencies for those specific professions. And so in 2020, there were some play therapists who did a research study. And what they did is they asked experienced play therapists in the field of play therapy what are important skills that they consider to be necessary for a play therapist. And so through that process, they narrowed it down to 3 categories and identified core skills in each category. And so that for the play therapy profession, then these are the skills that are necessary in order to be a competent play therapist, regardless of which theoretical model that you're using. So in play therapy, there are a variety of theoretical models that dictate how you will access the therapeutic powers of play in the play therapy process. So, hey there, Dory from Bonita Springs, Florida. Welcome, Dory. Dory's in my Facebook group. And I think, Dory, we're also connected on LinkedIn, I think. So welcome, Dory. Oh, sorry, I get a little distracted. Hey, Dory. So in play therapy, there are theoretical models that you use, and those drive how you apply that specific play therapy model to access the therapeutic powers of play, which are essential and distinguish play therapy from other expressive arts modality. So I talked about that more in previous lives episodes. So you can go back in my Facebook group, go in the featured section, watch those, or hop over to my YouTube channel. You can watch more. They'll all be in the live channel. So the Association for Play Therapy defines play therapy as the systematic use of a theoretical model to establish an interpersonal process wherein trained play therapists use the therapeutic powers of play to help clients prevent or resolve psychosocial difficulties and achieve optimal growth and development. And yes, I read that off my card. That is a lot to remember to make sure I got that right. So essentially what play therapy, the Association for Play Therapy was endeavoring to do is to create a definition of what is play therapy that captures all the components of play therapy. And to me, what's important about being a play therapist is making sure that you get the training and consultation and that you take those core foundational courses to understand really what is the foundation of play therapy. I always like to use the example of building a house. Like if you're building a house, this structure, you want to make sure that the foundation that you're building your structure on is solid, because that has to support the weight of everything else that's going to be going into your house. And we know that if you have a really poor foundation, that your structure is not going to be sustainable. It's going to crack. Eventually it won't even be safe. Well, this metaphor is still true for play therapy, which is having a strong foundational understanding of the core components of play therapy is really important in our professional development. And that's one, I'm going to talk about this later at the end. That is one of the reasons I have developed, I call it Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations, a whole series of courses that I'm going to be doing. They're all self-paced, pre-recorded, so you can take each of them in your own time zone when it's convenient for you. There's a whole series that, to me, create the foundation of being a play therapist, regardless of what theoretical model you're using, which is helpful because when you are using an integrated approach, you still want to be able to have a strong foundation on the core and foundational principles in order to use those different theoretical models, those in that integrated approach. They have to have something that's going to sustain them. And this is where the core competencies come into play. And these are, I have my first course that came out this month in January. It's called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. And so in that course, I break down the definition, APT's definition, and why each of those different components is really important when you're developing your foundational understanding of what play therapy is. Then we also talk in the course, I also talk about the competencies, which is what we're going to talk about more today. The other part that these competencies integrate in as part of the conceptualization is some ethics, some ethical considerations for play therapy. What are cultural considerations in play therapy? How does that cultural competence, cultural intelligence, cultural humility, each of those are specific definitions. Why I said each one of those, they have different nuances to them. And it's important as a mental health professional to really understand how those components will show up in the play therapy process and to be proficient in those. So those are all really important things to consider when you are going through your play therapy training process and becoming a play therapist. But if you've already been a play therapist for a while, these are still important things. I think it's important for us to kind of come back and remind ourselves of these. If you're a play therapist supervisor, then these core competencies are going to be really important for you to understand, because you are going to be then helping the people that you are consulting with, also known as supervising, and helping them to develop these skills. So I have a new program now, starts in February. It's called Play Therapy Academy. I have 2 online consultation groups, and then I also am putting some courses in there. But the whole thing, as I'm teaching others to become a play therapist, I'm also focused on helping them really understand these competencies, so that then when they get through the process and they have their registered play therapist credential, that's the one we use here in the United States. I know outside of the United States, there are other organizations, like the British Association for Play Therapists, I think it's Play Therapists of the UK. I think that's the other one over there in the UK. Canada has an association. Italy now has an association. Australia. So a lot of outside the US, there are still organizations focused on developing some core competencies in play therapy. The ones I'm going to talk about are from the Association for Play Therapy. I'm a member of the Association for Play Therapy as a registered play therapist supervisor. So those are the ones I know, and those are the ones I'm going to talk about. But I do think they are generalizable, such a big word, to other countries as well. So first and foremost, competency 1 in play therapy, and I want to hop over here. Oops, I forgot my first banner. We just talked about what is play therapy. Here in StreamYard, on Instagram, you guys won't see this, but on StreamYard, in my Facebook group, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you can see my fancy little banners here. The first one, play therapy competency area 1, is knowledge and understanding of play therapy. So these are competency, and these build on each other. So competency 1 is really building those core foundational skills and developing a core foundational understanding of what is play therapy and what does it mean to provide, what skills are needed to provide play therapy. So really having an understanding of the history, which I call the roots. Like every discipline teaches you about the history of that specific mental health discipline, like social work. We heard all about the history and the roots of social work because it informs what it means to be a social worker, and what focus, what area, what sets us apart from other disciplines. Like, how is a social worker different than a marriage and family therapist or a school psychologist? The same thing is true for play therapy. Part of becoming a play therapist and understanding what it means to be a play therapist is understanding the roots of play therapy and how it came to be the way that it is. So that's part of that, the roots. I call those the roots of the profession. And then we have other competencies like understanding theory of play therapy, understanding child development, systems theory, impact of trauma, ethical practice, all of those kinds of things, and the core basic knowledge about treatment and the phases of treatment and different kinds of skills that are needed, basic skills, regardless of what theoretical model you're using for play therapy. These will be important to know across all of the play therapy models, which again means it's really important if you're using an integrated approach, which most of us use an integrated approach. So I'll be curious if you're watching, those of you who are watching, what play therapy trainings have you taken? Have you taken any foundational trainings? What did you learn from that? What did you get out of that? Or if you need to take a foundational training, what are questions you have about that? Like, what would you want to know? So post those in the comments. I would love to see those. So competency 2 in play therapy has a lot to do with building your skills and knowledge on those foundational principles that you learned from the area of competency one. So again, think about that analogy of building a strong house. You want to lay a strong foundation of knowledge and skill building that you're going to build upon. Because the other thing is, we are lifelong learners as mental health professionals. We are always working on professional development. We are learning through experience. We are learning through ongoing training. And that's an important part of the process. So becoming a play therapist means that you're also continuing through training and through consultation with an experienced play therapist for your registered play therapy certification, RPT, so to speak. You're learning from a registered play therapist supervisor, such as myself, who have had more experience. I've been in the field of mental health for 30 years. I've been in play therapy for 10 of those, well, probably a little more now, 10 of those years, and doing play therapy supervision and licensing supervision since 2007. So it's been a while. And these are some of the questions that I've been asked by people, which is why I thought when in the first course in the Getting Grounded series, which is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations, a lot of what I put in the course was based on information that I get asked in supervision and when I'm doing trainings from other people, the things that they are interested in learning, in addition to what it is that's important. Like APT has defined some things that they believe are important for your professional development as a play therapist. So those went in the course. So competency two, building on those foundational principles, getting more depth in your skill building areas like understanding, tracking, recognizing themes in the play therapy sessions. And then what do you do with those themes? Understanding what you do with emotions, what you do with your own things that come up in the play therapy process. Also, you're really getting also more in depth about understanding biases. We all have them. If you're in graduate school like I was, we talked about them all the time. Why do we do that? Because it's important to recognize them. We don't understand what we don't understand until we take the time to go in and try to understand. We don't understand what we have kind of hidden away back in the recesses of our minds and memories until we go exploring and challenge ourselves. I often say to my husband over the years, I would love to be in a profession, not really, but sometimes I get tired of looking internally and figuring things out like, oh, what was that? Really? That again? Dang it. So really understanding those biases that we have, where those came from, what are we going to do with it? Because we all have them. How do we make sure that we show up in the best, most professional ways to meet our clients right where they are and help them through that process? Because you cannot be in a relationship, even a therapeutic relationship, without things getting activated. It is impossible. And I am 30 years in doing this, and it is still something that I have to work on. It's still, because that's what I believe is important if you are a therapist. And if you really, really want to get down there in the trenches with your clients and help them find their way out. Professional boundaries, of course, but I think it's an important thing to do. You can only do that if you are looking and exploring the things that get activated in you, as well as your own personal biases. And this comes up even more so when we're interacting with people who come from a different background from us, different culture. Maybe they sound different or talk different. And within different communities, there are variances. like one size doesn't fit all for everybody, not even in different communities. And so, or maybe they have a different faith background. I was in a training on, what was today? Today's Wednesday. On Monday, we were talking about cultural issues in terms of spirituality and religion, and how does that get navigated in the mental health relationship. So it was pretty interesting. So these are the things we're getting stronger at. We are going more in depth. We're learning those tracking skills. We're learning how to recognize where clients are in the change process. We're learning those clinical decision-making skills. We're learning case conceptualization. These are important skills to learn. And so this, in January, I have released Foundations in Play Therapy, Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. And the next course that I'm going to be making available, probably end of February, early Marchish, is going to be Getting Grounded in Play Therapy case conceptualization. So it's that case conceptualization and the clinical decision making through the process. These are really important skills to learn. And one of the things that I found through supervising is these are things in play therapy we have to learn how they apply and how we use them in a play therapy setting. So I think that's an important part of your foundational training. You're getting grounded in play therapy, the skills you're learning as a play therapist. I think these are really, really important to learn. And then the third area is competency area 3, which I kind of conceptualize more as your, so the category is called competency 3, professional engagement in play therapy, which to me, this is a lot of where your professional identity as a play therapist comes from. You are working toward that professional identity as a play therapist. And what does that mean? You are making sure you're considering burnout and recognizing burnout, because it is real. And we always have to be on the lookout for that to avoid it, because it impacts not only our own well-being and our ability to be the best versions of ourselves more often than not with our own families and our own loved ones and our own friends. It also impacts the therapy process. So it's important to keep in mind about that. And just your ongoing training as a play therapist, and ensuring that you are using training and helping to meet the needs of the clients that you serve. So all of those best practices that are important to make sure you are following in play therapy. So those are the 3 competency areas as a play therapist that are important for you to make sure that you are working on and developing. Let me do a quick recap, which is, what is play therapy? Play therapy essentially is, this is my summary. You are taking a theoretical model within the context of a therapeutic relationship to help your clients access the therapeutic powers of play so you can help them to heal. And to do that, there are competencies that need to be developed, specific skills that need to be developed in order to provide strong and ethical service delivery for your clients who are children, adolescents, and families. So these are the younger kids. And in graduate school, I don't know about you guys, but most of the training I got, well, most of mine was family therapy, which I kind of, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, but at my heart, really, I'm a marriage and family therapist. because I did a lot of family work when I was in grad school. Most of my courses were focused on family, which is unusual these days. But very few universities have specific focus on children and adolescents. So as a play therapist, one, you are a mental health therapist, and to be a registered play therapist here through the Association for Play Therapy, you have to be licensed. You can accumulate the training experience and the consultation while you're going through that process, but in order to be a registered play therapist, you have to be licensed, because APT wants you to build on those core mental health discipline competencies and build on that more of a specialization with children, adolescents, and families. So predominantly children in particular. So you are specializing even more to help this population of clients who need help, essentially. So that play therapy competency area 1 is really developing those foundational skills. Competency area 2 is continuing to build on those skills, go deeper, more in depth into your skill building and application. These are across theoretical models. And then competency area 3 is really about developing a strong professional identity, promoting the development of a strong play therapy community of support, and your professional development. So that is it for today. I did want to tell you about, I know I mentioned my course before. I have a whole series coming out. The whole series, which are going to, they're going to come out like every 6 to 8 weeks. So the whole series is called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundation, Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence. The course that's currently available is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. This is really the foundational components of play therapy: history, core competencies, ethics, cultural understanding, how to explain the therapeutic powers of play. So there's lots of experiential things in there about the questions I get asked all of the time when I'm doing trainings. The next course that'll be coming out late February, early March is going to be Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Case Conceptualization. Really, how do you take all of the information that you are learning and formulate your understanding of what's going on, which is going to be based on your theoretical model. This specific course is not going to be any particular play therapy theory model, more general, because to me, that's where the foundational part comes in, where you can, and especially since most of us use an integrated approach. So it's really about what are the core competencies in case conceptualization and clinical decision making, and how do you use that in play therapy with an ethical and cultural lens, which are really important. So that'll be coming out later. Then I have some other ones coming out, which are treatment plans. I get asked that one all the time. Treatment plans, progress notes, those will be coming out later in the year. That one comes up a lot. And how do you integrate parents or caregivers, guardians? How do you integrate them? I don't believe we're, generally speaking, from what I can see, I think we really, as play therapists, need to find a way to be more effective in that area. And so I want to talk about some things over 30 years that I have found to be super duper useful when integrating parents. So those are the courses coming over the next year in 2023. Right now, the course that is available is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. If you are interested in that course, you can go to my website at rrhcounseling.com www.cathi.com/courses. You'll want to click on the icon, the image that says Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, then go over to my website at rrhcounseling.com/ I think it says supervision. It's on the, supervision. Maybe it says Play Therapy. I don't remember what my website says. I think it says supervision. Anyway, on that page, it'll give you a little more information about Play Therapy Academy. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, there's a link that you can click on to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me to find out more about it, see if it's a good fit for you. So if you're interested in that, you can click on that page. All righty. I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Next Level Play Therapy. I hope you found the discussion valuable and gained new insights and ideas to support your work helping children, adolescents, and families heal. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps to improve and reach more people who can benefit from this information. Remember, play therapy is a powerful tool for healing and growth. Whether you're a new play therapist or experienced, I encourage you to continue your learning journey to unlock the potential of play in your own work and relationships. If you have any questions or topic suggestions for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media and visit my website at Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training to stay updated on upcoming episodes, trainings, and resources. Thank you once again for listening to Next Level Play Therapy. Until next time, keep playing, learning, and growing.